You don't want to waste your whole Saturday afternoon trying to figure out what's wrong with your Ryobi Weed Whacker string trimmer. So here are the most common issues that you'll be facing when troubleshooting your Ryobi Weed Whacker string trimmer. I'm Eddie Field with Field Guided DIY. We got a lot to cover, so let's dive in. Now this model is part of the expanded Powerhead series. I can just detach the string trimmer end of it and start troubleshooting. It makes handling of it a lot easier. You don't have to take the head off in order to load the string unless you have an issue. What happens if you get to the end of your line? Well, like in life, you tie a knot and hang on. No, seriously, what you want to do is you want to line up the arrows on the bump feed button with the holes on the side of your head. Then that'll allow you to just pull out your old string. Now, part of the mechanics of the Ryobi spool is this channel. You see that raised triangle pyramid looking thing? That hump right there allows you to pass the line through that grommet. So when these arrows are lined up with those grommets, you should see daylight. If you can't see daylight and you're trying to reload, you're gonna have an issue because the line has to pass completely through there. So what you wanna do is you'll wanna clean out that channel, like with a long, slender screwdriver or bradawl. Make sure that you can see daylight through there. Then that head is ready to receive that string. Then get your new replacement line. Make sure you can see daylight through there. If you can't, like I said, you may have some sort of debris in there, so you want to clean out that channel real good. Then once you're certain that you can see daylight, I see daylight right through there, you take your new line, this is 0.80, and thread it right through there. May be kind of tricky. You can spin the line and that may help it come through. And then when it comes out, you even them up, even your ends up. You want to make sure your line is unfouled. I usually cut my line about 12 to 15 feet, then even them up. And now comes the crank part. Your string trimmer should have come with one of these green cranks. If you don't have one, you may be able to use a pair of channel locks or groove pliers or a cinch strap like this one. But since I have the crank, I'm just gonna crank right now. I have it even, crank clockwise while holding the head. There's a lot going on right now. Now we're getting close, so we're gonna pay careful attention to how far our line is from the end. We don't want to wind it too far, then we'll have an issue and we'll have to go in and retrieve it. There. Then when I run it, it's going to trim off at that length. I may need to bump it and feed it out, but that's fine. I've got my line loaded, so I'm back in business. This is the bump head. What happens if the bump head won't feed? First thing you want to check, and you want to see if there's any spring tension. See, the way this is designed, when you bump, centrifugal force is going to release that amount of string. So you want to see if there's any play in that bump head and if it allows it to turn. And see if it'll turn one notch and if there's any slack in the string that comes out. If it isn't, you may have a twist inside the spool. Sometimes the string gets fouled and twisted up in there. What you want to do is you want to unspool it, take it completely out, and rewind the string. For that reason, we're gonna have to go inside the spool. This is a bear, I'll tell you that. I've had more comments about this one issue than any other comment on all of my videos combined. I don't know if you can make it out, but there's a lock and there's an arrow. What you need to do is you need to move this arrow over to that arrow. That unlocks your string trimmer head. Easier to see here. This is the lock, that's the unlock. But this is a bear. So what you're gonna do is, you may need a couple people, you may need a bench vise or some other means by which to hold the end there. You want to squeeze and twist. So you want to close that and then twist that direction. Are you ready? Are you ready? Like I said, and I'm a pretty stout guy, you know? Okay, now I got it released. Now we can start to investigate why the line is not feeding out. Our spring is intact and it spins fine. Now let's check check to see if the bobbin has any play. It does. If this is stuck, that means you've got some debris or some grass clipping or something keeping it from suppressing and spinning. This has to bump in and give a turn in order for that line to feed out. So that might be your issue. So make sure that that can turn. If that's free spinning, that's not your issue, then what you want to do is you want to take the line out and inspect the line. And you may need to just remove the line and restring it again. But you may see where the line is all twisted up in here. That might be your issue. So I would recommend you take all the line off the spool once again and restring your line. But what if you've done all that? What if you've taken all those steps and you still don't find the issue? It may be just time for you to replace the head itself. They're not very expensive. I picked this one up today. This is very similar to the original equipment that came with the Ryobi. Or you can get a model like this one. The two are very comparable, but here's one advantage of the more budget-friendly one that I picked up as well. You recall the way of unlocking and locking? This is brand spanking new, fresh off the truck. It is a bear to unlock. And now I'm unlocked. And even harder to lock. Well, it's vastly different on this. But this one, I don't know if you can tell, it has a tab on the top, a tab on the bottom. And what I do is I squeeze that tab and squeeze that tab with my index and thumb, and it lets that head pop out. And now I can pull the spring away and work on my bobbin that way. Now let's talk about the replacement if we need to put a new head on our Ryobi string trimmer. What you're gonna need to do with the head off, you're gonna need to spin this until you see a groove. And there's gonna be a groove on the back side right here. And you're gonna need to rotate that till it lines up with the groove on the shaft. I'm gonna put something sharp and pointy in there. And then I'm gonna turn the head counterclockwise while holding it in place. And that unlocks and unscrews the head from the rest of the shaft assembly. Now you can see that threaded bolt. This one I turn counterclockwise in order to get it started. And I tighten it up. Put my new cover on without string on it. Line up those tabs. I'm gonna line up those tabs and push down till it snaps into place. And you see how it popped out right there. Now, just like with this head, I'm gonna line up the arrows. And now I can see daylight straight through there. Now I can load my string through this type of head. And it comes right out. And once again, I use my crank on the brand spanking new head with the spool, and I load it up. That's if you purchase this type of head. But if you simply replace it with the kind that you had on there, this is how to do it. Again, you'll put that screwdriver in that groove, and you'll remove the back of the head, and you'll take apart the new head that is separating the spool feed from the part that attaches to your string trimmer. Like I said, this is a bear. So I'm gonna push and squeeze and release that. Make sure you get the right size head. This threaded is too big for this shaft, and it just slides right on there. This is going back. But if this were the right size, after threading it on there, I would line up those arrows, making sure I had my spring in the center. Push and twist. And twist. Push and twist into place. Push and twist into place. And now I'd be ready to weed eat again. but the aftermarket one is the one I'm gonna be hanging on to. If you're taking the head off, it may be just a good time to remove this collar and check for debris that's in where the bearing assembly is. Clean that out real good. Did I cover all your issues? If I didn't, leave your problem in the comments below and I'll get to it in the next video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you then.